So I have Ken New here, former agent with the FBI. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. So we're going to do that. Mark, before I forget, I need to do an ad, do two ads. One, can I run just something about my show that's going to be airing this Sunday? I forgot to do that when I was here last time. Can I do that just for a couple of days? And then I need to record an ad for Jill Woolbright. Yeah, because she's sponsoring my show as well. Okay. Uh-huh. I already talked to Ken. Not Ken. Kurt. Yeah. So I'm not with the FCC. It's my own personal show. So there's like a whole, because I did talk to him last week about that. Okay. All righty. So this is going to be fun, guys. Y'all ready? We're going to go in. We got Ken New. Hopefully I won't forget his name. I intend to do that. Oh, we got WNZF News pins back. This is my gift to you. You have a piece of paper up there, Mark? I left my notebook in the car. Nope. Sometimes I'll forget something. Anybody know anything about the FBI other than what we see on TV? Is there some FBI song from like FBI Most Wanted TV show or something along those lines?
No, I don't know. We don't have a theme song like
You
the
don't have a
military.
theme song?
Not like the military, no.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let me write your name down so I won't forget it. I know who you are, but I'm telling you, as soon as I start recording, my mind goes blank.
I understand.
All right. Whenever you're ready, Mark.
You are now tuned in to Today with Pastor Jay on WNZF News Radio, where we discuss inspiring and informative news. And now here's your host, Pastor Jerlyn Denny.
Good morning, good morning. Wake up and good morning. Hold on. Mark, did I do that right? No, I think I did that right. That was just me. Okay, let's try it again. See, we mess up. We do it again. I thought I had you muted, but I didn't have you muted. I've recorded a whole show one time and it wasn't right. Let me make sure this is on mute. Yes, it is. I was doing everything correctly. Okay, we're ready.
You are now tuned in to Today with Pastor Jay on WNZF News Radio, where we discuss inspiring and informative news. And now here's your host, Pastor Jerlyn Denny.
Good morning, good morning. Wake up and good morning. It is a wonderful, beautiful, and great day. And I'm excited because I have Ken New as my guest. 33 years he was with the FBI. That's right, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And he is here today not because I'm on America's Most Wanted list. He's here to talk about what it's like. You know, the FBI is a domestic intelligence and security service for the United States, and it's a federal law enforcement agency. I watch, Ken, and thank you so much for being here.
Okay, I'm glad to be here.
I watch these shows, these FBI shows. Do you get up that a lot? People find out you've been with the FBI. I watch, there's like 2 FBI shows. There's an FBI Most Wanted, and my husband loved these shows.
Well, I get questions about it all the time, especially how real is it or whatever. And over the years, some of the shows have been better than others in terms of what we really do.
Right.
But some are way out there.
All right. So you were in for 33 years. Who was the director at the time that you were?
When I entered on duty, Mr. Hoover was the director, and when I retired, Mr. Mueller was the director.
How cool is that? Did you get to meet both of them, or did you know them?
I didn't get to meet Mr. Hoover. He was up there in years in 1969, and because we had a big expansion of agents at that time, they had just gotten an increase in the budget. He couldn't meet all the new agents classes, and at that time. And of course, it's before the current academy. It was a whole different physical situation in D.C. at the time.
Very nice.
I took most of my classes in what is now the Trump Hotel, or was a Trump Hotel. The old post office is where the FBI was.
Really?
The Washington field office was in the old post office, and then a lot of the training sessions were in the old post office.
That is cool. So when you look back at your 33 years, you've done a lot, apparently. You've seen a lot.
Sure.
The agency has grown quite a bit. What are some of the myths of things that people call you about? I mean, because everybody wants to call the FBI. I'm calling the FBI. When do the FBI step in and get involved?
We normally when there is an actual federal violation, people think that we're like a national police force, and we're not. We have we have very limited policing powers. We're an investigative agency,
Okay.
and Mr. Hoover fought that then back in the before my time as well. But there were moves to try and make us a national police force, and that was not his concept, and he thought local law enforcement was the best way to go. So our relationship with local law enforcement is what's most important.
Well, I know a lot about your agency because I watch TV.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
About
that depends. That's not.
I'm an expert on the FBI. Like, the
I'm sure.
FBI can't be, you can't, unless it's like you said, a federal crime. Certain things have to go over state lines.
Right. There are some things that yes, and that's
See? Got that from the FBI show.
From on the criminal side of the house. That's correct. But there are federal statutes. There's a bank robbery statute. There's
Oh, that's right.
the kidnapping statute, but you do have to go across state lines. There's a number of white collar crime statutes today, and cyber crime. Almost everything there is interstate because of the way the internet works. But a lot of that's in the modern era, and we do provide other assistance and services. Our laboratory is one of the best in the world. We have engineering research, and then there's a whole other side of the FBI which deals with foreign counterintelligence and other security issues.
There was a time when women weren't allowed.
That's right. 1972.
Okay.
Mr. Hoover passed away, and 2 months later we had our first female.
Wow.
Yeah. The first female in the FBI, the first two females. One was a former Marine and one was a former nun.
A former nun was the
Yes, ma'am.
FBI.
Those were the first two females.
And you were there when all this was happening or taking place. What do you think have changed most in the agency over the years?
Well, a lot of things have changed because the technology has changed, the laws have changed. Inside the FBI, it's when I went in, it was white shirts, wingtip shoes, and suits all the time. It's a little bit different, and the bureau has changed as the society has changed, and that's been the biggest thing. We are as much a reflection of the society, both personality and even politically, as compared to what some people think. Of course, right now one of the biggest things that the bureau is trying to do is diversity, and that has to do with being able to recruit people of both racial and ethnic wise, and a lot of that has been due to we're competing against private industry for the same, and it's to be an FBI agent, you have to be at least 23 years old, and you have to have a college degree and 3 years experience. The average age of a new agent is between 27 and 30 years old.
Nice.
So, and that's because it's normally a career change.
So you were there back in the day when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was around, and
No, no, that happened before me. Although
That happened before you?
a lot of the issues were there, but
a lot of the issues
I
were
guess the most significant old case like that I was involved in is after the Oliver Stone movie on JFK came out in 1990, 91, I guess. The FBI had to reopen that case and basically virtually reinvestigate it because of everything that was going on. Dallas, I was at headquarters at the time, but Dallas was the lead agency, the lead office, and it was an interesting thing reopening all that. The biggest thing even I learned as an agent was that at the time President Kennedy was assassinated, it was not a federal crime to kill the President of the United States. It was a murder in the state of Texas, which is why Oswald was in the custody of the Dallas Police Department instead of in the custody of U.S. Marshal Service.
Get to learn a lot of things like that. While you were an agent, for example, did you go and look at some of the other cases that, to familiarize yourself with? I mean, back to Dr. Martin Luther King, it was, this little myth that he was assassinated by the FBI. And did you look into any of that?
Well, we would, yes, just because of some of the assignments I had, we would go back and see some of it. And really, the Martin Luther King cases, I believe they're all out on the website from an
Mm-hmm.
FOIPA because now everything we know, I really don't think there's anything classified at this stage of the game that isn't out there.
I was just looking up some stuff, and it was talking about the FBI once spent 2 years investigating a song. I don't know if you know this, but during the 1960s, analysts at the FBI's Cutting Edge Laboratory spent more than 2 years investigating the lyrics of the Kingsmen hit pop song
Yep.
Louie Louie.
Yep. Sure. There were. I mean, I'm aware of that because that's well known in the
Right.
FBI, at least from my era. But it happened before me. But
Uh-huh.
well, back at that time, I mean, another thing, back we were still dealing with pornography and the whole obscenity issue at the time until the Supreme Court decision. But the FBI had what was known, and I only know this because I inherited the program when I got to headquarters in '90. We had a porn library back at that time of all of the stuff that had been seized, the different things, and actually we had the most extensive Playboy collection in the world. Every issue of Playboy from the time it was published until Mr. Hoover died, the FBI had in its library.
Oh
Bec-
my goodness.
because that was
That was the
you got to
big
put it
thing.
you got to put it in
That was the big thing
context
back
of
then.
society. Yeah, and that
Oh
was
wow.
but that eventually evolved, and then of course today's world, in line with that, once they passed the child porn statute in 1990, and we've been involved in more sexual exploitation of children
Which
rather
is
than
horrid.
rather yes, it is.
It's a hard, especially now with cyber.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I was oversaw with a couple other the establishment of the FBI's Indian Country Investigations Unit and the Crimes Against Children Unit when I was at headquarters. As a matter of fact, a lot of the initial policy and paperwork I did.
What was the most fascinating thing you did as an agent within the FBI? And
Well,
that's almost like being a
my background is
superhero.
I have
you know?
actually, I guess a lot of people think about undercover, but actually my background, I have a bachelor's and master's in electrical engineering. So when I was in the FBI about 2 years, I became today it's called tech trained agent. It's back then it was called a sound agent. I was actually in sound school when Mr. Hoover died, but back then, and the most exciting thing is when you do for me, is the installation of technical thing. We would,
The bugs.
we would burglarize, you'd burglarize a place at 2 or 3 in the morning, and it's kind of an adrenaline rush at that time because there's a lot of stuff going on. There's people watching and everything. But that would be the most from an excitement perspective and getting things moving on. Those operations were the ones that were normally that I remember. I mean, I was involved in some other cases, but that from
Wow. All right. Well, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to
Sure.
talk about what you're doing now, after retirement, the things that
Okay.
you're doing within the FBI, and how we can get involved. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Today with Pastor Jay. You ready? We'll just go right back in. Welcome back. Welcome back. You're listening to Today with Pastor Jay, and my special guest is Ken New, retired FBI agent. He was there back in the day with all the excitement. I guess it's still excited. You retired. What year did you retire?
Well, I've been retired almost 20 years
Okay.
from the active FBI. But
From active FBI, you retired as an agent, but you're still involved with the agency.
yes, well, I'm involved with there's a society of former special agents of the FBI. We've been in existence since 1937. I've been involved with them ever since I retired. Here in Florida, since after I moved, I've been secretary of the local chapter since 2008. I was on the national board of directors from 2016 to 2020, and I'm currently on the board of trustees of the foundation, which is we support our own members. We provide assistance. We give a lot of scholarships and things like that.
I know just recently here in Flagler County, our mayor, his son
Yes.
had passed away,
Correct.
an FBI agent. And I know you intervened and was part of getting support. I mean, not just for the family, but for the community.
Yes, when we found out that his father was up here, I reached out to David. I had previously met him because and I didn't realize it when through the Education Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I've been in contact with David since then, both in terms of letting you know what was going on, the kind of support the family was getting in Miami, and because both the Ex-Agents Association and the On Board Agents Association have provided a lot of support for the two families down there. And I just kind of, and there's a lot of other things that have gone on. I've just tried to keep him in the loop to let him know what was happening and any assistance he might need up here.
Right. And when you look at law enforcement in general, military in general, those that, you lay your lives down to protect and to serve.
Yeah.
Whether you're in the military, whether you for the sheriff's department, police department, I would say also for the FBI. Those are the type of jobs that people take. They're not thinking about themselves. They're always thinking about someone else, serving someone else, and it builds a camaraderie that just don't ever go away.
Well, that's true. It's as an agent, once an agent, always an agent. But it's like the Marine Corps has the same thing, and really law enforcement in general. And I think it's the nature of the job because you've all seen almost similar stuff, which is not necessarily what the public experiences. I think I know the average person in this country probably never meets an FBI agent.
Or they probably, or they don't know they've met an FBI agent. It's not because they don't go around flashing their badge saying, "Hey, I'm an FBI agent."
Correct.
We've had a few people call me all the time and tell me that there's FBI agents in Flagler County. They're investigating or anything like that. I don't know if that to be true, but I'm like, interesting. What's going on in Flagler that we need FBI agents?
Well, really this area is mostly handled by the Daytona office, which is a sub office out of Jacksonville. But there's a lot, depending, they do come down from Jacksonville. And it really depends. There are things here that would be of interest to the Bureau. And of course, they have good relationship with the Flagler County Sheriff's Office. Our sheriff is a National Academy graduate, as is one of a couple of the other deputies here. And that's it is a good relationship between the local law enforcement and the FBI here in this county.
Do you have any other family members that serve in the FBI, or
No,
what made you decide to become an agent?
Well, I grew up. My dad was a New York City cop, so I grew up with law enforcement the whole time. He never really wanted me to be a police officer, but I went to school. I was working for Raytheon Corporation, Space and Information Systems Division, up in Massachusetts. After I got out of graduate school, and I had heard that they were hiring other than lawyers and accountants, which that had changed a long time ago, but that was still everybody thought of it that way. And I wrote a letter to Mr. Hoover, and I said, I understand you're taking other than lawyers and accountants. And a month later, I was contacted by the Boston office, and that started the process. And then when you got appointed back then, when Mr. Hoover was the boss, you had one chance. If you said no, you would never have another chance. But
Right.
So when I got the appointment, I took it, and I've never regretted it. It's been a very interesting career. I've lived in places I didn't think I would ever live in, and had experiences to travel both here and overseas.
Right. So when you look at FBI, a lot of the things that you guys investigate, of course, violent crime, organized crime. That must have been a lot of organized crime back in the day, and probably some today, but organized crime, civil rights. Did not realize that the FBI enforced civil right law. I thought that was very interesting. Public
Well, I
corruption.
ran a civil rights squad in Houston from 1981 to almost 1990.
Wow.
And
And
that
of
was-
course, so white collar crime.
Yeah, well, when I came in, we didn't have those terminologies. I worked on a white collar crime squad when I was in the New York office, what would be today a white collar crime squad. And then for a while, when I became a tech agent, I was moved down to the Gambino squad. And then later on, I went to the FBI lab for a while because of my background. That was a research and design. That's probably the only time in my career that I did not work criminal matters. That was on the
Right.
foreign counterintelligence side of the house. but then I worked criminal matters in Tampa and then in Philadelphia worked. We had a squad. I was working black organized crimes. Black. We had the Black Mafia in Philadelphia at that time. We didn't have a lot of black agents in the FBI. Not that we do now, but we had even fewer back then. And but we had a problem there in the city, and so we had a squad of 8 black agents and 3 white agents. And then also Philly was having a civil rights issues at the time when Mayor Rizzo was there and the whole thing. So whenever there was a civil rights issue with police brutality, we would be detailed as salt and pepper teams is what they were called. And we would go out into the community to do the interviews.
You know, the FBI has a lot of their own little lingo going on.
Sure.
I was surprised. They got their own little jargon and acronyms, you know, like BRIC agents are investigators who work the streets.
Right.
Unsub, unknown. I know that from my FBI show.
Sure. Sure.
My FBI, unsub, you know. So those, Betty Bureau refers to a female support employee, you know, just things like that. So it must be kind of interesting. But we've got to take a break again. But I want to give a thank you and a shout out to the Honorable Jill Woolbright. Thank you for sponsoring Today with Pastor Jay. Jill is running for school board. So just want to give her a shout out. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Today with Pastor Jay. Hey. Ready? How much time I have left? What's the most important or interesting question you think?
Why don't we get into what where they need to go to for the about FBI jobs?
Okay. That'd be a good idea.
Let me turn it.
Yeah, that'd be a really good idea. Okay, you ready? Give a thank you and a shout out to Steve Verrier, the Florida Mortgage Center, for sponsoring Today with Pastor Jay. That's the Florida Mortgage Center for sponsoring Today with Pastor Jay. Thank you so very much. Well, Ken, this has been great. I want to be an agent. Is there like an age limit? Am I too old already? Have I missed the mark?
Oh, you look too young. No, you have to be at least 23 and you can't be over 37, and that's dictated by the pension law that passed, because you have to an agent has to retire at 57.
Oh, really?
It's set by the pension. The Congress passed the law, and what I would do from an FBI perspective in terms of wanting to be an agent, the best place to go today is there's a website called FBIjobs.gov. If you go there, it's got all the background about being an agent, all the tech positions that are available. There's a whole analyst side of the house that really was coming into its own around right before 9/11, and 9/11 accelerated the whole transition to intelligence-driven investigations. And there's a whole professional side of the FBI, non-agent professional side of the FBI, which deals with analysts, and they work closely with FBI agents. The biggest difference between the two of them is the analysts don't carry guns. FBI agents carry guns. That's a very simplistic difference, but they both go to Quantico. They
have to train.
They train together for for so many weeks, and then the analysts trains a little bit different, and the agents have the firearms and a lot of other.
You know what I'm going to say to that, Ken?
What's that?
I saw that on TV.
Yeah.
Seriously, I think I'm watching too much FBI TV stuff. I love action, and a lot of them, have there been times where you was like, "There's not a lot going on here," or was it always exciting with the FBI?
Sure. Well, it's not always the daily routine on the FBI. They solve a lot of things in an hour that sometimes takes a couple of years to solve. So it's
your lab, the FBI crime lab, is very extensive.
The lab is terrific. It's got its own facility. It moved out of downtown to Quantico. It's got its own lab down there. The engineering research facilities at Quantico. The FBI Academy is at Quantico. DEA also has a facility there. They use the same facility, but it's FBI. National Academy is there. It's like a small college campus. It's a beautiful facility. A lot of it's been recently renovated because it opened in 1972. And then right now there's a big expansion of the FBI at Huntsville, Alabama. We have about 2,500 people there now, and they're going to be probably about 5,000 over the next few years. It's a a lot of cyber and a lot of tech stuff is being moved down there. We've always been at Redstone Arsenal, but for bombing and stuff. But this is an expansion because today everybody doesn't have to be downtown.
Oh,
And the FBI, unfortunately, J. Edgar Hoover Building has its problems and its controversy over the last few years of whether we're going to move out of D.C. or
Right.
not move out of D.C. We were, and then it got put on hold. But nobody really knows where.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to invite you back, and we'll start talking about some of the bombings and
Sure.
the shootings and all the stuff that's happening across America and what the FBI response would be. So thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. You're welcome back anytime. All right, guys, you know what I say? Yesterday's gone, tomorrow's not promised. What are you going to do today? Hey, why not become an FBI agent and
That's
make a
right.
difference in your community? God bless you. Have a wonderful day.